and then go ahead and hide it. And we should be good to go.
All right, we're going.
All right. Whenever it's up and rolling, you can go ahead and just hide the loop and then bring the video on. And then remember, just switch between him and I. Just press cut.
You're on, baby.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh shit! All right. All right. So this is. All right. So this. Make sure it's not playing on that. Okay. So this is the first live podcast that we've done that's professional or relatively put together very well. So I appreciate you being here, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, this is an absolute fucking pleasure. The reason why I put a name to the face, I saw you at the Marble show that the Slums did back in like December.
Oh, yeah.
And the way I put the name to the face was, I think it was Toby that brought you up
You had like 3 different podcasts with those guys.
Yeah.
And I feel like every single time that they were on there, they mentioned me.
Yeah. And no, you got to have them on. And I'm notoriously bad when it comes to scheduling, so I appreciate you bearing with me.
It's all my pleasure, man.
And so yeah, big thanks to those guys for bringing this on. But before we get into the episode, we're going to play a quick mention about the sponsor that made this live stream possible. I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Okay, sick. All right, and we're fucking back. Okay, dude, thank you very much for coming. This is an absolute pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers, bud.
Because it's interesting, really until they had mentioned you, because I've been to live shows, whether it's like at Sleda or it's like down at local breweries or in Launchpad. I never really think about, the amount of work that goes into actually making that sound great. Right. Or let alone passable. Because I've been to a couple of local shows where it's just absolutely bonkers to me how bad it sounds. It's just loud noises being thrown against the wall.
Yeah, it's either too muddy or it's too bright. It's hard to find that middle ground.
So I definitely want to get into, what you do and how you get it done, what got you into it. But I want to learn a little more about you, man. So are you born and raised here in New Mexico?
Yeah, I was born and raised here in New Mexico. I always lived in Albuquerque. I grew up in like Westgate area, not too far from here. And kind of just bebop living throughout Albuquerque.
And then, so have you always lived here? Did you ever move out? Did you ever?
Never really moved out.
Yeah.
Just always been in Albuquerque. It would go travel places, but mostly just stayed here in Albuquerque.
And growing up, did you go to a ton of live shows? Like, what was your first real, because everyone grows up, I feel, unless you're a fucking weirdo, you grow up liking music, but then to do what you do, you got to love it. So when did you first, love music?
I would have to say, man, it stems back to, when I was, 4 years old. My mom and dad got me my first guitar when I was that young, and it was just, this beater little box guitar. And I just thumped around on that till I was, 9, took lessons for a couple years. But during that time, my dad started working for this company in town called NRG, and they're a staging company that hires out hands to help the roadies out to build concerts in town.
Oh, okay. It's contract type work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I got involved in that very young, before I wasn't even a teenager. I'd just go to work with my dad and help him, and he'd be like, "Oh, go pick up the towels in the dressing room." So there I was, a young kid knocking on the doors like, "Hey guys, I'm here to give you guys new towels and take your old towels," and stuffing nasty ass towels in a bag. And
God knows what the fuck is on those towels.
You name any act that came around town, they'd handle their towels. It was rough. Well, that's kind of my introduction to music and stuff. I really fell in love with it, the whole aspect of production and that I played guitar, so I wanted to be that rock star on stage.
And so I've seen on your social media, you've become that rock star on stage. So
I'm still striving for it, man. I play shows and stuff like that in town, some out of town shows, and I'm striving for it.
So what type of like what genre, I guess, of rock, hard rock do you find yourself playing? Are you like are you? Because it's very strange. I never really knew this was a thing, but like there are bands in the city, right?
Right.
But then there's also like these floating artists, these floating guitarists that kind of just like I'll play a little with
I'll
these
play
guys,
here, I'll play with that,
play
yeah.
with these guys. So where do you find yourself most of the time?
So like I grew up playing like your typical metal, Metallica, Megadeth, and shit like that. That's what like really inspired me to play guitar more. And then I finally, during the time that kids are like into like your superheroes, your Power Rangers and stuff like that.
So me and Joey.
During that time, I didn't really have any superheroes. I had guitar players that were like who I looked up to, and it was like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert, guys like that. And I watched them religiously and just play guitar with whatever I could. So I just stayed in my room mostly playing guitar during those times.
That's fucking cool. So
And then nowadays, I mostly play like blues rock guitar on my side thing, but I play with a metal band in town, Lithopedian, and it's like our label coins us as like psychedelic tech death.
okay.
So that's what I'm doing now, professionally, I guess you would say.
So what? Okay, so I'm very because there's so many, especially like over like the last 15 years. There's so many subgenres of subgenres of death metal and doom metal and psychedelic rock and all that. Like, that has roots going back to like the 70s and the 60s, right? With I'd say namely with when it comes to the general metal would be Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
But psychedelic rock growing out of like the Woodstock of '69 and going forward, now we have the evolution into you guys. So what defines you as like what puts you in that category of?
I'm not too sure how, like, we usually just call ourselves like technical death metal, and
Okay.
and then we squash it down even further and just be like, it's death metal.
Okay.
But like our label was like, oh man, you guys have this weird like psychedelic vibe to your music, like because we'll like slow it down. It won't be just chaos metal the whole time, and just trippy shit going on. And so, I guess like a lot of our inspiration would be coming from like your Pink Floyd into your more '80s psychedelic kind of stuff that would be like Dream Theater and Queensryche kind of stuff. And then now you have what in the '90s, 2000s, like Mastodon is kind of like that kind of style of weirdness. And so we're just trying to take it to like the death metal version of it all.
I found out about Dream Theater for the first time during the pandemic.
Really?
And I just went down a fucking rabbit hole of their
Oh,
shit.
dude.
It's so good.
Math rock at its finest.
So how long what's your band's name again?
Lithopedian.
Lithopedian. Okay,
Yeah.
how do you come up with a name like that?
So they came up with it before I joined the band, and it basically means like it's like a calcified fetus in the womb. It's a legit medical term. So
Can you pull that up so we can see what the fuck that looks like? That's phenomenal. So Lithopedian.
yeah, so it's like if a woman can't pass. It's Women's Day, by the way.
Yeah. Happy International Women's Day. Let's remind you of one of the worst medical instances that could ever fucking happen.
Yeah, so it's like if the baby isn't passed through and it stays in the womb, the body will take it and calcify it in kind of like a tumor
Holy shit.
and keep it like that.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. Yo, that's something out of like Bloodborne, dude. Holy fuck.
So yeah, it's basically like a stone. I think that's what litho means.
And then, so okay, I gotta ask because you guys. So what I love, like one of my, and I've been looking at your shirt.
This is one of my older bands.
Okay, so that's sick.
And then I'm wearing a Lithopedian hoodie.
Okay, awesome. See, because one of my favorite things, especially, it's like the more niche the band, the more extravagant their art is, right? Like their cover art, their singles art, their merch that they make. Have you incorporated that into a fucking?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. It's right here.
Oh, that's sick.
It's like a saw baby. Calcified fetus thing. But that's kind of like our logo.
Okay. So how long have you guys been around?
So Lithopedian itself has been around, I think, since 2015, 16, around there. I joined the band in 2018 because half the band quit before they went on tour.
Oh, wow.
They had lined up to go on tour for 2 weeks with a band from Romania and a band from Scotland.
Oh, wow.
A Scorter tour from Scotland, and clit gore from Romania.
I love it. I love this shit so much. I genuinely do. I feel bad for wearing my Green Day shirt now.
You're fine,
'Cause I could have worn like a To the Grave or something a little heavier, but that's phenomenal. Clit gore. Okay.
And so they're like a family band too, which I love about clit gore.
Got little Sally on the keyboards.
It's a husband and wife. The wife plays bass and the husband plays guitar and sings, and then they have a good buddy of theirs from Hungary that plays drums.
That's great. So, I mean, if you're allowed to talk about it, because I'm very interested in this too, because, you know, I had, like, with the slums, we had a conversation of, like, how, you know, the creative endeavor is so challenging. And they've gotten to the point where they're like, are we still doing this? Like, you're being a dick, I'm being a dick. Are we still doing this? If you're able to talk about it, or maybe, like, give some generalities, like, what led to half
I'll
of
spill tea right now.
Yeah, what happened to, like, what leads to that in bands?
Oh, so I guess during the time that I joined the band as a bass player. I'm not really a bass player. And they're like, hey, we need a bass player. We're going to go on tour. A bass player just quit. He had a falling out with the guys, I guess.
Yeah.
Something about, I need cables back.
Oh,
that was the
geez.
argument that I remember. And so they're like, okay, you need to come practice with us. I went to the train car that they used to jam at. Jammed out with them a couple times. And then right before tour, the second guitar player quit. And he was just like, I'm not really wanting to do this anymore. You know, he wanted to start his life, which is it's fine.
Yeah.
He had a family, he had a kid coming and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, all right, you can't be on the road for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So he quit, and then they were like, well, we need another guitar player. And so we hit the road, and I was the bass player for the tour. It was like 2018. And we were gone for a couple of weeks, and I'm literally in the van reading tablature on a computer screen in the back of a van with a huge bass that I can barely move around, trying to learn all the parts, you know. And I never really got to play on stage with them during that tour, but what I did on tour the whole time, since my background with doing like concerts and setting them up and doing sound, I was basically their sound guy on tour.
Hey, that saves money right there.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make all three of these bands sound great on tour.
That's awesome.
And then we had some shit holes that we played in, but it was fun. It was a fun time.
So that tour was what year again?
2018.
2018. So how long up until that point had you been, you know, doing audio work and actually, you know, being in that kind of field?
I think it was like prior to that, it was like 2 years that I got it in. Well, I've been home recording for years beyond that, but like where I started taking serious with recording, I got a job at Red Gorilla Studios here in town. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that place.
I've heard the name in passing on this
So
podcast.
like they were just starting out, and I knew the owner real well, Ricky, and he was like, I went to school for Pro Tools. If you want to help me run this studio, I'll show you everything I know. I was like, well, hell yeah, let's do it. So I basically was thrown into a situation where I was the only one that was recording bands at the studio.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, you take care of it. I'll ask me any questions you have. So I cut my teeth doing recordings that way for probably like a year and a half before I joined the band. And then since then, I've been kind of doing sound. Marble picked me up.
So working in that, so how long were you in that the recording studio for, doing all that audio work?
Probably like
recording.
2.5 years.
Are there any experiences or any bands that really like stood out to you? Like, wow, like these guys are like fucking amazing. These guys are really.
So it's mostly like the actual bands that I did were friend bands from the owner.
Yeah.
And
yeah, even on like a small scale. I mean, it's like, wow, like, these
those
guys
were
have potential.
issues and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of these guys, they come from like a jam background.
Yeah.
So having a click track is so foreign to them. They're like, we don't want to do the click track.
So for people listening, don't know what that is. What's a click track?
It keeps you in time. Like you just 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just keeps you in time. Everything's on the beat. Like if I have to cut something and re-record something, it's going to be right back on the beat, and we can continue and build the song. But these guys like didn't want to do any of this click track, so jamming. So they would mess up and halfway through the song, and be like, hey, can we punch that back in? Like, can we record from like halfway through and then continue? I'm like, well, you guys ain't doing it to a click track, so it's going to be off time.
Right.
So we have to start from the beginning each song. Like if they mess up like towards the end of the song, we have to take the track all the way back to the beginning.
See, and it's funny because I think this kind of reinforces a thought that I had driving over here about, okay, well, this guy, he has to work a lot of audio at, like, specifically Marble, and then he has to work with all these bands. And, again, the creative types are not exactly the most agreeable. And so now that we know that you used to actually work in a recording studio recording with artists, did you ever have to develop like some kind of teaching style, some sort of like almost counselor? Like it was like, hey, like listen, like I
totally.
know you think you know what's right, but you're paying me to do this for you.
I try, honestly, like the guys that I've worked with countless shows, like I tell them all the time, like I'm really easy to work with. Like I'm not trying to like bust anybody's chops, and I'm not aggressive with anything I tell anybody. But yeah, you have to come up with like a way to like tell these artists to be like, let's try it a different way. I know you guys have your way. Let's try it this way. It might be a little different, but let's give it a chance. And so, yeah, you get some people that are just really stubborn about the way they want to do things. And it's like, hey, at the end of the day, they're paying you for it. So
Right. And so when you get to a situation like that, it's like, okay, they're very headstrong. They are, stuck in their ways almost as you go real negative with it. Did you have to kind of like take a step back, kind of let this ship burn, let this ship sink, and then maybe they'll realize it down the road? Like, man, we probably should have listened to the guy in the recording studio.
I've had recording, like mostly, like I had a few bands in that recording studio. Like I said, they were friend bands of the owner. And for the majority, though, outside of that, it was rap artists that I worked with.
Oh, wow.
And that was rough because some guys would come in, they have their shit together. They'd be like, here's my beat. All right, I'm in the ISO booth, hit record, they can rap the whole song. Flawless. Some artists would come in there. I had this one girl from France, and she was here in town, and she wanted to record an album before she went back home. And she's literally doing one line at a time, be like, da-da-da-da-da. All right, and then we had to make another track, da-da-da, another track, da-da-da-da, another track, da-da-da. And then after it was like a pyramid of tracks, I had to go and smush them all together into one track and make it sound like she's flowing rapping.
I was gonna say, because with rap, like again, I'm not anywhere well versed in rap at all, but like
Same.
I'm not rapping at all.
yes, it's
She's talking.
yeah, spoken word that gets stitched together by the poor guy who has to do it.
Right.
So when you're like thinking about that process again, like what was that like having to like what did you have to do to make that like sound good?
It's just it's like she had it headstrong, like she wants to do 3 or 4 words per track.
Jesus.
And then move to the next track to continue it. And then she was very about that. And so I was like, okay, so if this is what we're going to do, I'm going to put like 10 tracks out there. And each time she does one, I'm going to go to the next track, go to the next track, go to the next track. At the end of the whole thing, just have to chop it up and slightly move them here and there. And that was the thing that was nice about like beats like that, like rap artists, like their tracks are 100% on the beat. You know, there's no deviation throughout the song that changes tempo or any of that.
Right.
So we could cut and chop all day long.
Yeah, because they're not creating their own beat in real time. They're coming with it pre-made.
Right.
Right. So they have to stay. Well, okay. The vocals don't have to stay on
Hopefully
beat.
they don't have. Hopefully they bring their track.
Right. So assuming they do, they already have that. Whereas like with a rock band, it's the drums that's creating the initial beat, and then they carry forward with the rhythm and the bass and so on and so forth. So I could see where that would make your life a little bit easier, but then at the same time, like I could only imagine you sitting behind the mixer watching this girl go 1, 2, 3, stop.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, stop.
Oh, can I hear that back real quick? It's like ba 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 ba. Cool. Do you like that? I mean, it's like I can't tell you that it's good or not. Like, I don't know where we're going with this.
That's funny. So you're working at the recording studio, and you get the opportunity from Marble. What was that conversation like?
So,
Like, how did that start? What was that conversation?
so I was a good friend of mine, Gabe Lovato. He used to book bands for Marble Brewery. So he'd book for like the West Side location, downtown, and the Heights. And a few times he's asked me to record him, just like, and I would have my own home studio outside of the Red Gorilla studios, and it was like portable. I would take it wherever I need to take recording.
Not to completely cut you off, but did Red Gorilla recently get shot at or shot up?
Yeah, there's something over there that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where I've heard the name because they were doing a show there, and a buddy of mine who's been on the podcast a couple times. His name is up here. There he is, Notorious T.
Okay.
He's one of the two dudes that got shot down there.
Oh, that was the dude that.
Yeah.
He was on stage, wasn't that?
It was him and a 15-year-old girl that got shot.
Dude, I played on that stage. I don't know how many times throughout the night, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, all night long. It's so trippy to me that happened over there.
Well, because what's the setup down? Like, not to completely deviate, but what's the setup down there? Because I was trying to look at all the video that I could, and all I could find was like the security, the one CCTV footage they had out, and then a couple.
That's news to me.
Yeah, then a couple of the like cell phone footage. But it looked like a trailer park mixed with like, and inside it looked decent, but it didn't look like it was a.
So it's in the industrial area of Los Ranchos.
Okay.
Off of like Paseo and 2nd Street.
Okay.
So it's back off of Edith area.
Oh, okay.
So they're a part of county, so you can play till the cows come home over there.
Right.
There's no sound ordinance or anything like that.
Okay.
And it's like it's a warehouse. It's like got the corrugated steel. It's just a big warehouse.
Okay, I see.
So you walk in, there's like a ISO booth to your left, and there's a studio room off to your right, and then you keep going, and there's a hallway, there's a bathroom off to your right, but then you go into to your right outside the bathroom. It's a gigantic like venue.
Okay.
It's probably about the size. The stage is huge. It's like twice the size of like Launchpad.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Because Launchpad's got a pretty good sized stage too.
I would say it's like twice the size of Launchpad. That's how big it is in there. And they have like a bar and everything in there. We used to party like crazy at that place, like after hours and stuff, like wild times.
So it's like a legit venue.
Yeah.
And just again in Albuquerque fashion, something very unfortunate happened down there.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay, so anyway, so your buddy get you hooked up with Marble. What was the conversation like sitting down with them?
So at the time I worked at this restaurant at the West Side location, Marble Brewery. I was dishwasher for a sushi restaurant that's still there. And I get a phone call and he's like, hey, tomorrow I need a sound guy. Would you be willing to work with us at Marble to do a show at West Side? Like, we need a sound guy. The guy quit. I was like, yeah, I'm totally down. And literally the next day I walk in and I was supposed to have a shift cleaning dishes at the restaurant there inside the place. And I just walk right past them with a Marble shirt on.
Sorry? You clean your own damn dishes.
I had to be there at the exact same time for my shift. You know what I mean? Both shifts were at the exact same time. I walk right past them and I'm like, hey guys, I don't necessarily quit, but I can't work for you guys tonight.
That's funny.
And then I've been doing sound for Marble ever since.
That's good shit. All right, so now what? So are you primarily working over on the one off First Street?
I on the 17th I'll be back at the one. During the winter they close the main stage down at downtown
Because it's the outdoor venue.
Yeah, so they transfer me over to the West Side location where they have like shows all winter long.
Okay, I see.
So I'm there now till St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I see.
Nope.
So what I'm always interested about is now that because you have different bands come in, and I have not sat down with them yet, and I really want to. I've been told great things about the Mango Cakes.
Oh,
But something interesting that got told to me was, so you got the Sons of Harvard, and you have Nick, who's a fucking living refrigerator.
he's a powerhouse on those drums, dude.
Yeah, he is a fucking monster, and he beats the shit out of those drums. But then, and that's not to take away from his skill. Like he's an incredibly good drummer. You can tell he cares about it very much, but he just beats the fuck out of those drums. Yeah. And then what I've been told, and I don't remember the individual's name, but the drummer from the Mango Cakes, Tina, she's not someone that beats the shit out of the drums, but she's still very technical, but she's more light with it.
Yeah, she has a lot of dynamics with her playing.
So that's what I was going to ask. So when you're setting up, yeah. I will say, I am quite surprised at how well this is going.
Me too. I was just so nervous too. I was like,
Well, no, I'm talking technical wise. This is a great conversation, but technical wise, fuck. All right,
I
are
can
we back
imagine,
up?
dude.
Yeah, you get back up.
Okay, hopefully they caught that because they get to see how fucking nervous I am to do this shit all of the time because of how much work this fucking took me. Can you actually turn up my headphones a little bit? Like my headphones. So I'm plugged into number 2, I think.
Number 2?
No, turn up my headphones. Yeah.
Turn my headphones up.
Okay, yeah, that's better. I just have real shitty hearing.
Same.
So we were talking about the difference in what I want to get to is how you're setting up the music the sound rather based on the different artists you have.
Like different bands.
Yeah, we are going, right?
Yeah, you're streaming.
We're live. Okay, sick. So again, you have Nick who beats the fuck out of the drums, and then you have Tina who's very light with it, but she's technical. So when you're setting up for those different sides of the spectrum, what goes into that? Like, what are you considering? What are you physically doing? Like,
between those two, like I know Nick is gonna destroy the drums behind everything. So yeah, I give all the drummers the exact same setup. You know, I give them a kick, snare, and an overhead. Just 3 things because cymbals travel in these situations. You don't really need to like mic cymbals unless you're like in a huge venue where guy 100 feet back won't hear the cymbals, you know,
right,
coming through the speakers.
So like, when you say overhead, what is?
Oh, so it's just like a microphone,
okay,
condenser microphone that goes over the cymbals.
Okay.
So I give them one, and then I mic the snare drum just so you can have that clack, you know, coming through the speakers, and then the kick, of course, so you can feel that in your chest. And like, I know he's gonna kill it. He's got double pedal back there. He's a mile a minute, and yeah, you just EQ it a little different. Like, I don't like using presets.
Okay.
Because like, we have a system at work on our iPad that you can load presets and save like certain bands. Like I say, I set up a whole band, the whole faders, the whole mixer board. I can save that, so every time they come back, I can just load it back up. But for some reason, I don't really like that because when it's saved at the end of the night when the band is like comfortable with each other on stage and they're already warmed up and they're, you know, in their zone.
Yeah.
So that's a good EQ at the end. But if you use that EQ when they're first like doing sound check, it's completely different.
Interesting. So what makes that different?
It's just so when they're like doing sound check, they're a little quieter. They're the vocalists are a little louder, I think, and the drummer is like trying not to play it so hard. So as the show progresses and they get comfortable, you know, everything's like, of course, the guitar players go and turn their amps up a little bit. The bass player's a little more bassy. The drummer's like into it and like hitting good, you know. Vocalists are belting it out. So it changes throughout the whole night. So I don't like using presets because what the band sounds like at the end of the night is not what they're going to sound like when they come back and do a sound check. So I like to build it from scratch every single time. Interesting.
No, that's a good point. So then when you start tuning this out for someone like Tina, what are you taking into consideration because she's not playing as hard?
Just give it more oomph.
Yeah.
It's not really that big of a difference. It's just I don't know how to explain it. I guess she's not necessarily quieter. She's just more meticulous of what she's playing and.
Interesting.
And then Nick uses his whole kit constantly. So it's like got to make sure everything's mic'd where everything needs to be. Because like sometimes I'll give Nick like an extra overhead because he does a lot of tom work. Tina's more like funk based, and I got a lot of like other drummers that are like Kevin Kinane. He plays drums with like Let It Grow and stuff like that, like the Grateful Dead cover band kind of.
Oh
bands.
yeah. I've seen flyers of them, I think.
And so like they have like extra percussionists and it's like auxiliary drums where they got what do they call them, like dream bells? I forget what they call them.
Yeah. And not like a xylophone. What the fuck is that called? Where you have like the chimes. Do you go?
Is it chimes? I think it's chimes.
Yeah.
It's like it sounds like a dream. But yeah, you get sometimes I'd see a band come on stage. I'm like, holy shit! that's a lot of gear getting thrown up there. So I'm like, I gotta mic that, gotta mic that, gotta mic that, gotta mic that. And it's good to like reach out to the bands before they get there. Like I try to be like, I message them like, hey, you guys I'm your sound guy this weekend. Is there anything I should know about that's gonna be unorthodox? Like sometimes a lot of people come with like a laptop and they want to do samples, or we have this one thing that makes a boom sound. I only use it twice throughout the whole set. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I guess I'll have to plug that in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's like some of the more unorthodox stuff that you've had to deal with, or see rather, not deal with?
Oh man, I don't know what those things are called. It's literally like a little box and it has like metal tongues on it, and you. Dunk, 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 dunk.
Oh Jesus!
I've run across an electric one of those, and the guy's like, "I gotta plug this in."
Why?
And he's got like a wah pedal for it and delays. I'm like, you're only using it like twice throughout the whole set.
And the pedal is bigger than the actual little box.
There's like for the most part, like everyone I've worked with is really nice. There's some people that are assholes, but as long as they let me know beforehand, like, hey, I got this that I'm going to use, I'm prepared for it. Because it's not really too much to set up. It's just another extra input that I got to plug in.
You know, what's funny is that it doesn't surprise me because any field of work you're going to go into, you're going to deal with a bunch of assholes here and there. But like, especially if you're a band, that's, at least in my opinion, and I've had a couple people that do music have told me this, like, yeah, you can make all the music you want, you can control your social media, but your live performances, potentially touring, that is your moneymaker. That's your greatest advertisement.
You have to get out there.
Yeah, that is everything. And so to treat any staff like shit's horrible, right? It's like the people that don't treat wait staff properly.
Oh,
you know
that's
what I mean?
horrible.
But it's like, because I worked in restaurants for 8 years.
Same too, man.
Yeah. So, you know, being a band and treating the sound guy like shit, it's a bit about biting the hand that feeds. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, honestly, don't piss your sound guy off.
I will turn that shit down.
Yeah. I will make that shit sound like I'm not going to purposely do that to somebody.
Yeah.
But there's been times where I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like it's my job to be the sound guy, and they know that they have a sound guy for the night. And it's the secondary sound guys I can't deal with.
It's the Monday morning quarterbacks.
Yeah. Where they're like, hey, can you turn down 5K for me on this one speaker? I'm like, what are you talking? Like, I know what he's talking about, but like, you're not hearing the 5K. I'm telling you, like, you're not seeing where the frequencies are coming
So
in.
what's 5K for? No, I'm not gonna lie, for me and everyone else does not understand what the fuck that is.
So you have a wideband equalizer. You know, you got like everyone kind of seen like the wave, the knobs that you can manipulate.
Yeah, and it controls your high and your low end.
Yeah, high and low end. And so 5K is like in the higher register area. So it's like real sizzly in that zone. So like people are like, oh, my 5K student. It's like, so it's bright. I'll just tell me it's bright, a little too crispy, and I'll turn it down for you.
Right.
But when they get like super technical to me, and I'm like, come on, guys. like I know I'm a sound guy, but don't come at me with the jargon of a sound guy.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to be like annoying.
No, I'd imagine it's a pet peeve. It's
like someone coming in here and telling you like, hey, you should move your microphone like this. Like, since you're doing podcasts, you should probably hold it this way. You're like, I've been doing this for like 3 to 4 years now. Like, don't tell me how to move my microphone.
And so, especially with like an outdoor venue like Marble downtown, what are the signs that the night's going really well from a sound perspective? Because like, before we get to that, what are you looking for as the show goes on?
Like, just far as like to make it sound as best as I can get it going.
Yeah.
So initially, like, I love to do. Is this the? Is this the 5K? Yeah, they're saying like it's too harsh. It's that 5K.
I'm telling you, man, he's become the Jamie. I'm telling you, he's good, man.
I'm trying, man.
I love having this guy on the computer. He's good, man.
That's great.
And I really want to ask, and I'm glad that I've got you here from specifically the Marble perspective, because that was the first time that I got to see the Slums play live. Because I had originally gone to Inside Out, but it got rained out.
Okay.
And then when I went down to Marble, that is one of the best concerts I've been to. like that is with, and I was sober for that one. Like that was
You're
that.
like, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, that was one of the best shows that I've been to, and I lump that in with anything that I've seen in Isleta or anything that I've seen out of state. Like that was
awesome.
It sounded fucking amazing too.
Those guys put on a show.
Yeah,
It's hard to come across bands these days, like especially in town, that give off like a good vibe on stage.
yes,
Like I see
yeah.
countless bands, they're great bands. But some of them just stand there, you know, and then
Yeah,
in between songs they'll talk to the crowd and trying to get them going. But Slums of Harvard, everyone in the band is doing something. Like who do you focus on?
right. Well, I think it's interesting because it's. I've told them this, and I don't. They self-describe quite well because obviously I can't do that for them. But it's a very safe environment, for as safe as Albuquerque can get. Exactly, they create a good vibe. They create a good aura for the room, and their music sounded. Like no shade towards Launchpad because I love Launchpad. I love going down there. I had Peach on recently. Like I fucking love that venue.
The great guys over there.
But Marble, it sounded a bit better, and I don't know if it was because it's outside or because of what's going on, but that audio down at Marble, you killed it. So what?
The outdoor venue is like you don't have like it won't be as muffly.
Right.
Like, you go to Launchpad. I
Very
love the
enclosed.
sound guys, Andrew and all them guys.
Yeah.
They're great guys. But it's just like the venue itself is just like real muffly when you hear stuff in there. It's a real bassy.
Yeah.
But with the outdoor venue, like sound just travels. There's no bounce coming from anywhere.
Right.
It's just out, moving that sound. And so I feel like an outdoor venue is like you have more clarity. So it's going to be like real bright in your ear. And I need to bring more of the low end out so people can still feel that low end instead of it just traveling past them.
Interesting. So it doesn't like fall flat
Yeah.
almost. So what are you, again, like as the night's going on, we'll get to the end, but like as the night's going on, what are you looking for? What are you checking? Both like what you're hearing, but then also what you are like physically looking at on your mixer and on your computers. What are you looking for to make sure you're on track?
Mostly I just want, like, I can EQ the band to death all night long, you know, tweak everything. But the main thing that I'm looking for is like, is the crowd able to hear the vocalist? Because that's one of the biggest pet peeves of mine is like someone walking up to me and being like, hey, I can't hear the vocalist. And I'm like, so just crank that guy, you know what I mean? And what's great about Sons of Harvard, like, those guys just, they belt it out.
Yeah.
They're up there screaming, singing. And like, I remember the first time I did them and I was like, oh my God, these guys are loud. I was like, I think I might get in trouble tonight. Like, I don't want the manager to walk up to me like, hey, can you turn it down? I'm like, but no one bothered me about it. And
I think the beer cells help with that.
Yeah.
So I think they're okay with the loud music.
oh, they bring a crowd. I know every time they play over there, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a packed ass night.
Well, not only that, but I remember because they brought it up in the episode too. Fucking, I'm standing. Like I think I was next to a bit of your equipment. I was off to the far right.
Oh, it's got that tower speaker there. Yeah.
And I'm off to the right, and I see like obviously they're playing, everyone's paying attention, but every so often, over the course of like 15 to 20 seconds, people start kind of like diverting their attention to the street, and this fucking double-decker bus pulls up.
I remember that night.
with the wedding party.
Yes.
And these people start fucking flooding out to an already packed house, and yeah, that was phenomenal.
It was like 20 people got out of that thing.
And 20 people in that venue, it adds a lot of space.
The bride did not have her ID.
Oh shit!
I remember that night. But luckily, one of her bridesmaids, I think, had her ID that was showing up later. She wasn't in the party bus, so she had to bring it to her.
That's a little awkward, huh?
Right? You're like, oh, let's go party at Marble, and then the main person can't get in.
So you're going through the night, you're EQing them, you're checking them here and there. What else are you kind of looking for?
Like just making sure, like I said, the low end is one of the big concerns too, because like the guitars, they can be ferocious on stage. You know, they rip everyone's head off.
Yeah.
Everyone in the front row is just going to be bombarded by treble.
Yeah.
Anyway, no matter who guitar player's on stage, it's going to be loud in the front row. And that's why we added that speaker on that side of the stage there, because a lot of people in the pit area couldn't hear vocals. So it's like I always had people walking up to me like, hey, I can't hear the vocals. It's because like the speakers are like built 10 feet behind everybody.
Right, because they hang behind the band, right?
They hang in front of the band.
Oh,
A
okay.
good 10 feet in front of the stage.
Oh, right. Because right.
Marble at one point was going to extend the stage forward,
Okay,
and they didn't, but they mounted the speakers like they were going to.
I see.
And so there's like a section in the center that just, you can't hear vocals at all. So we added the speakers off to the side so I can just pump vocals through that.
And were you able to give input in that decision to add the speaker and all that?
Oh yeah, because that's one of those things.
Key thumb piano is what he looked up, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt the conversation.
No, that's
I was
hilarious.
trying to fucking
No,
find what the thing was
I had
called.
the-
I knew what you were talking about.
They make an electric version of one of these, and they're literally just as small. And I had to put that into the system, and of course, this thing fed back like a son of a bitch. Like, I'm like trying to find what frequency is the kill.
Oh Jesus! Yeah. What? Again, not to talk shit, 'cause we're not going to drop names, but like, what type of pretentious prick do you have to be to say, you know what, my music is so good, we need this plugged in?
Yeah, it's like,
And then I'm going to bring a pedal for it that is bigger than the fucking box itself. Are you kidding me?
yeah, it's usually vocalists.
Nevin, I'll see you next week on the podcast.
It's mostly vocalists that add these crazy things.
That's funny.
It's like you can't just stand there and sing. You gotta bring all this extra stuff.
You're not already stealing the spotlight enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So you're going through. Okay. So they were going to build it out. They didn't. And the reason why I ask you if you had the choice, or at least to say so, whether you're going to put that speaker in, is because that's good to hear. That like the people who run Marble, it's a team effort to make that show great.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no.
I've had nothing but support working
That's awesome.
with Marble. Like I love working for Marble. It's not even, I'm not trying to plug them or anything, but ever since not
Sponsor
trying to
me,
plug.
please.
I'm not trying to plug these guys at all.
Please sponsor me. I need another sponsor.
But ever since I've worked there, I've drank there for years before
Yeah.
even working there. And my philosophy now that I tell everybody, you hang out here long enough, you'll end up working for them. And that's been true because I hung out there long enough. I work for them, and a lot of regulars I used to drink with
Yeah.
are now employees of Marble.
That's a good community right there.
Yeah.
Well, and what I like too is kind of go down this road is that, ever since COVID, there has been this like renaissance of entertainment here. Whether it's artists, like literal artists. Like I had this gentleman, his name's Gerald Lovato, super sweet guy. He's an ex MMA fighter, and he's a fucking freehand painter. And so like literal artists like him, or it's musicians, or it's people that are getting like, I'm kind of starting to talk to people that are in the fashion side of Albuquerque, which I think is fascinating to me.
There's all kinds of crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
there's a bunch of stuff happening here. Comedy's popping off like crazy.
That's something I've noticed recently is a lot
Yeah.
of comedy coming out.
It's awesome. And what I like about that is it's getting to the point where like there are some really great musicians. There are some really great comedians. There are some all that kind of stuff, but there's not yet anyway. There's not like the comedian from Albuquerque is blank. The band, the rapper, the whatever from Albuquerque is blank. But we're getting there. And I think a big proponent of that is we have, honestly, for a town or for a city the size of Albuquerque, we have really great venues. We really do.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. I mean, there used to be a ton back in the day, like 15 years ago.
Really.
But nowadays, they all kind of shut down. But then, like you said, there's like a new renaissance of like new venues popping up that are like helping people out.
Exactly. And that's the point I was getting to. Exactly. It's like these venues, obviously it helps bring them money and it helps them, drive business in, but like they get to contribute to a community that's actively growing, or at least trying to grow. Like you'll find at just like breweries like Marble, you'll have bands playing, but then breweries like the 377 or there's like Lizard Tail up in Rio Rancho, they'll have comedy nights. And the fact that they're doing all that stuff is awesome. And I love being able to put on people that represent those venues or represent the bands or entertainers themselves, because this is the type of shit about Albuquerque that needs to get exposed.
Right.
We know that it's violent. We know that there's crime like crazy. Regardless of how you feel about the politicians or about regardless of how you feel about that, we, as a citizen of the of the state and of the city of Albuquerque, we still feel the ramifications of those big level decisions,
Right.
or indecisions, unfortunately. And so to know that there's still entertainment that's like trying to break through, it's like there is a light at the end of the tunnel somewhere.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's like you're talking about like the comedian of Albuquerque, like the band of Albuquerque. I have to give a shout out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like the band I think is like the band of Albuquerque that has an opportunity to get like out there and noticed right now is Red Light Cameras.
I want to have them on too. I've heard nothing but great things about them.
My best friend, my buddy, he's the drummer for them, and he's the drummer in my band.
Oh, I'd love to get in contact with them then, because I've heard
Justin Salazar.
I've heard amazing things about them. Yeah.
So yeah, they stole him from me. No, we're all good about it. But no, we're because we do our metal thing, and then he does his Red Light Camera stuff, and he's also in another band called Dirty Brown Jug Band.
Okay,
where Jared Killinger, he's a badass artist as well. Jared, I give him. He used to work at the Grandma's Music. Like I've known him for years, selling me guitars and.
Oh, Grandma's Music.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So that used to be, don't tell me. It used to be a music store that was off of Coors and like pretty much Paseo, right?
Yeah.
Right across from the Target. Fucking A. Remember that place, Grandma's Music?
Yeah.
That place was the shit.
Technically, it's still around.
Where is it still there?
It's not a physical location anymore.
Oh, okay. Is it like...
And that's all I can say.
Oh, okay. Okay. Bet. All right. I'll ask you about that off camera. Yeah. All right. Great. Fuck it. I remember going there as a kid because...
I got all my music equipment from them.
Well, because my mom and my dad got divorced real early. And then as I was growing up, my mom was dating this guy, and one of his side gigs was a DJ. So he would get all his music equipment, all his sound equipment, and all that stuff from Grandma. So I would spend fucking hours there just fucking browsing.
It was just, I can't stand Guitar Center at all. So like, I refuse to go to Guitar Center for things, and so I'll hit all these.
How come? I gotta know. How come?
It's like the Walmart of music stores. Like they have your generic stuff.
Yeah.
Just your simple like, oh, I saw that on the internet.
Right.
For like people that play in bands, I'm sure you want like boutique. Sorry, I'm all.
No, you're good. You're good.
You want like boutique shit, like special amps. They're made by like Germany or something like that. Like I'm not like all the years I put playing guitar and all this stuff and doing sound. I'm not like a gearhead. I can tell you like model numbers or people can just go on and on about things
like Rain Man for that one subject.
Yeah, I can't do that. So Grandma's had like underground shit that all like people knew about that was like, you want this shit. Guitar Center is just going to give you your Marshall, your Fender,
Gibson,
just
shit
your
like that.
front of the mill cookie cutter shit. But you can find obscure stuff at Grandma's. You're like, oh man, I've heard about that thing. I want that.
Interesting. Okay.
And the guys that work there, they're always buying like or having like the store purchase so they can sell it like cool items. And like you can't find that anywhere in town anymore. Like now that Grandma's is gone, just like now I got to order this shit on Amazon.
Well, and it's funny you say that because I was running into that same predicament, and the solution was just as dumb as the predicament itself. But when I was trying to set all this up about 2.5 weeks ago, I really needed regular HDMI to micro HDMI, and
I do that all day long.
I was running around town looking for these fucking cables, and I found one at a Best Buy, overpriced as shit. I was like, fuck it, I need it.
How much was it?
It was $30.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I bought it, and then it wasn't even on their listing as like in stock, And they said, yeah, the closest ones are in Santa Fe. I was like, oh my God. I'm not driving to Santa Fe. So I was like, you know what? They're not going to be there. I get home, right? I'm like, okay, they're not going to be there, but I've got a tough box full of a bunch of cables and random stuff that I've gotten for the podcast and random cables that have come with the cameras or the mics or whatever.
You never know, it might be in there.
I'm just, fuck it. I'm going to go. Because I have to go to Santa Fe at a minimum once every 2 weeks for my job.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll try. Sure enough, I crack open this fucking tough box, and in brand new wrapping, there are 2 micro HDMI cables. And I'm like, all right,
Perfect.
cool. Sounds good. Whatever. I'll take it. And then, because again, like I was telling you beforehand, because you specialize in audio, you get a kick out of this too. So I was setting up the audio, and I got to give a shout out.
I've done a lot of AV too.
Yeah. So I got to give a big shout out to David, one of our roommates here. I don't know if you saw him out front. He's working on the car.
Yeah.
Big shout out to him. So his whole job, like his whole life is electrical work and all that kind of stuff. And 2 Saturdays ago, this is a true story. This is how good of friends I have. 2 Saturdays ago, it was about 12 o'clock in the morning. I'm setting all this up, and I'm finally like, fuck this. I kind of rearranged stuff, put some posters up, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bed. I can't figure out my audio problems. I'm going to sleep. But then I go to Dave. I'm like, hey, man, come in here real quick. And I show him the studio. I'm like, what do you think? And he has been getting, because I've been doing the pod for about 2.5 years now.
Okay.
And we used to run this out of my garage in a condo that that I rented up in the Heights.
Okay.
And David would, as the equipment came in, as things got a little bit better, David, because that's how his brain works, he was like, hey, man, your wire management fucking sucks. It sucks.
Oh, wire management drives me insane too.
So thank God you came in when you did, because this was exploded and everywhere.
It looks nice.
He's like, yeah,
I don't
dude.
really see a wire. Honestly, I mean, I see it go down here, but that's it.
Yeah.
I just sight out of mine.
So David goes, I mean, yeah, you have cool stuff on the walls, and that's fine. And I'm sure it looks great on camera, but this place looks like shit. And he goes, dude, listen, I could do all your wire management in 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And I was like, all right, let's bang it out.
do it.
This is like 11:45 at night.
He's all 3 shots in, a couple beers. I got you, bud.
Yeah, so we have a couple of beers we're going. I'm like, all right, it's inching up to 12:30. I'm ordering a pizza. This guy deserves food. So I order us a pizza. We get done at 3:45 in the morning. And this place is, I mean, it is the way you see it. And he's doing all this shit buzzed, right? Like he's like wrapping cables and he's Velcroing and he's zip tying.
I see these amazing little Velcro things on here.
That's all him. And he's like, shears, cuts them, wraps, whatever, you know. And yeah, so I got to I mentioned that in the beginning of the episode, but big shout out to David for fucking setting all this shit up. I provided the equipment. He has a know-how of how to make it look nice.
He's like, make it good.
But back to the audio story. So an issue I was running into, because my big goal for the summer was I want to figure out how to do a live stream. That was my big thing.
Yeah, just get it going.
Yeah, just get it going, make it look good, and then make this as professional as humanly possible. And another shout out to Larry. Have you heard of he's a comedian, Buck D, Robert Gibson?
I am horrible with names.
So he's fucking hilarious. He's
got a nickname, maybe.
Yeah,
I remember nicknames. What names?
Yeah, his nickname's Buck D. Yeah, we did an episode a while back, but I went on their podcast, and his producer of the podcast is like legitimate like videographer, producer, all that stuff. So he's the one that put me onto the ATEM, and shout out to him for letting me know how to use it and all that stuff. But so I get all this stuff set up, and everything's good to go. But for whatever reason, whenever I do a live stream and then we run it, there is this weird audio loop. So long story short, I go through every single forum, every YouTube video. I'm going down these rabbit holes of like church, like live stream setups, like how are they doing?
You're watching a YouTube with this guy doing a church thing. You're like,
yeah.
Okay.
All this stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because what I would do is I set up the live stream, I speak into the microphone, and then I would be checking it on my phone and listening to it. And so every video, every forum said, make sure you don't listen to your live stream. But what they had shown me was on the YouTube live dashboard, has that little window that shows like what you're playing. They always had that muted. So I was like, yeah, I do that too. That makes sense. Whatever. That works. So a couple nights ago, I did this for like 2 weeks. I tried it on my phone. With David would come down, try it on his phone. We had this audio. I was like, fuck. Like one night I was doing it, and I was getting like legitimately mad. So I had to go to bed, right?
Yeah,
it got to that point.
I did the I did the decompress later.
Yes, I'm done. So a couple nights ago, I had an idea, and I was like, well, maybe the audio is looping because of my. No, you're good. You're good. You're
Like,
good.
fuck.
No, it does not matter.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I was like, fuck, maybe it is looping because of my phone. And sure enough, I go upstairs. Dave's in his room. I'm like, bro, pull up the live stream on your YouTube. See if there's an audio loop. We tried it, no loop. Try it again, saved it.
It was just on the phone?
It was just because of the audio getting picked up on the phone, looped through the mics.
Oh, no.
And I was happy that I solved it in time
So
for
it's
this.
just a phone on.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. That's why I kept telling him, like, hey, when you're checking it, make sure
You turn your phone off.
you turn your fucking volume off.
Because I've tried to use that same system, the OBS.
Yeah.
I've gone online and during COVID and played guitar and had people give me tips and stuff like that, which I never got tips. But it was fun just to jam for a couple hours on the Twitch stream. I think I did. Was it Twitch or YouTube? I think I did. I can't remember. This is my horrible brain. I can never remember anything. Like a drummer tells me all the time. He's like, "Oh, you remember that one gig with this one band and that one guy said this?" And I'm like, "No, not at all." Dude.
That's how I was like, dude, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning, let alone.
Like, I couldn't tell you, man. Like, but yeah, doing this audio stuff for like computers and stuff is, I'm always constantly, because like I said, I was doing like home recordings. I'm doing a recording now for a guitarist in town, Joe Hernandez. Shout out Joe Hernandez. He used to own this venue in town called The Compound. I don't know if you guys remember that.
That sounds familiar. Where was it? That sounds familiar.
San Mateo and Candelaria.
I think so.
Like
I've never been, but I think I've heard the name.
Oh man, that place was popping off all the damn time. He booked us all the time over there, and now I'm doing a recording for him. He's doing a guitar solo for a band I can't say.
Oh shit! How big are we talking?
It's not like a band that I've seen this band a lot, like their logo and through the metal community. It's not a band I listen to. They're pretty brutal. It's one of the bands I would listen to, but I never really picked them up. But yeah, they asked him to do a guitar solo, and he posted on Facebook, "Hey, I need someone to record me." And like right away, hit me up, dude. I got you. And I was like, I told him straight, I was like, don't worry about paying me, dude. Like you hooked it up over the years with your venue, and he had a record label that he started back in the day, and we got thrown on it, and I was like, dude, you've helped us out so many times when we were in our youth. Like, don't even worry about paying me for this session. Like, let's do it. And so, yeah, we're doing that right now and getting that going. I'm excited for that because I want to be able to hear. I'm excited for it because I doubt I'll get any credit for recording this guitar solo for this album because it's like a 30-second piece.
Yeah.
In a 35-minute album, and I'm just excited to, like, when the album comes out, I'll be able to hear his guitar solo, and be like, I recorded that guitar solo. I can tell my kids, in the future, like, you hear that guitar solo right there? I recorded that. Not me personally, but the guy.
That's funny. Well, I'm interested to hear about what band this could be attached to because I love because there's no shortage of like extreme doom metal, deathcore. Yeah, like we said
like
earlier,
saying, like, there's so many
tech metal,
vape metal.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a thing. Like there's not a shortage of those kind of bands. Like a band that I got into over the pandemic that I still listen to on a daily basis is To the Grave. You heard of them?
I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with music.
Fucking phenomenal.
I saw one of your podcasts, and you're wearing damn it! Now as soon as I bring it up,
To the Grave.
no, it was Buried Alive.
Yes, so he's the one that showed me Buried Alive.
My God, it's like
that dude is insane. Can you pull up one of his videos on YouTube real quick so we can kind of?
I'll find something. I fucking love that band.
Yeah, because that's the
is
thing.
Arm Strawberry
Yes.
is a great song.
Yes, like the fact that it's not even really a band. It's him and his fiance.
I think it's like the guy from Rings of Saturn, the guitarist.
Okay, so it's either he is the band from Rings of Saturn or he's collaborated with them.
Okay,
because I know they intermingle a lot.
Yeah,
and I love Rings of Saturn too.
I'm in this metal band. I don't know a lot of metal bands.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the least metal guy in the band.
So if you want to throw that up on the monitor. But yeah, so To the Grave, they are phenomenal. They just released a brand new album. and they're very big into like they're I'm don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly certain they're all either vegetarians or vegans because a lot of their
Like cattle decapitation.
yeah,
They're all vegans.
well, because a lot of their music is anti meat industry, anti industrial farming,
Okay.
or factory farming rather. So so a lot of the stuff is against that. But their new album's fucking amazing. Yeah, this shit is. Or is it playing on the stream so people can see it?
Hold on, I'm about to do that.
Okay. Because this shit is
Yeah,
great.
this band is ridiculous. Yes.
If you want to skip like 45 seconds into it, 50 seconds in, I think is when it goes kind of crazy.
The big hill right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, love
these
it.
guys.
Well, because it's what's great about this band. Again, it's like it's not even a band. It's him and his chick, and his chick plays.
Those are the best kind of bands, though. Like a band that's not a band,
Yeah.
where they're like an Austrian death machine.
Yes. Yes.
It's like
'Cause they're the guys
Yes,
that-
it's a band, but it's not a band.
Well, because Austrian Death Machine, they parody Arnold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love listening to that when I'm in the gym. Like One More
Oh,
Breath.
dude,
great
man,
song.
God. I don't go to the gym, but like that band would make me go to the gym.
It's phenomenal.
It's 24-hour, or was it 25-hour fitness for 1 extra hour working out.
Because another band like that, where it's like a band but not a band, is Weird the Empty. They're not death metal.
I've heard the name.
So I had his. I don't know if he wants me to say his real name on the pod, so I'm not going to. I've had Weird the Empty on the podcast, and he's slowly but surely. He hasn't done revealed his face or anything.
Okay.
But I had him on the pod a while back, and we did a Twitch stream together, a live stream together, and his music's phenomenal. Like it's not just it's not death metal or anything close to that. He has some screams in there.
Okay.
And he's worked alongside a band called Dear Agony. You've heard of them?
Yeah.
Oh, you've heard of them?
I've heard the name.
Okay, yeah. Dear Agony's great.
I hear a lot of these underground bands with
Yeah.
the circle that we go through.
Right, yeah. Because I've become acquaintances with Ben and Mike from Dear Agony.
Okay.
And they're starting to release new music again, and they're amazing. But Weird the Empty, he's done some screams for them. He'll throw some screams on his tracks every now and again. But he is legit a one-man band.
Really?
And he bought this I wish I had screenshotted it because he sent it to me on Instagram, like a picture of it, but it was like one of like disappearing pictures. He, over the pandemic, he bought himself this in-home isolation recording booth.
Ooh, I wish I had.
That was worth like I think 8 G's. Something absolutely fucking
That's what blows my mind about studio stuff. It's just like, oh my God, it's so expensive.
yeah.
Like these Shure mics that we're talking out of right now, I know exactly how much they cost. And they're expensive.
Yeah.
But they're great.
And that's why I don't ever say how much they are on air because I don't like talking about that kind of shit. But I have guests that do know and say, yeah, this shit costs this much. That's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I'm real happy to be where I'm at right now. Like, I'm
That's
blessed.
good.
I'm blessed and I don't brag about it.
These microphones are fucking sick.
Yes, I fucking love these things. Well, because like, yeah, if you want to pull that back up, that is exactly what he bought. Funny enough. Good job. That's exactly what he bought.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's exactly what he got.
It's like the size of my closet.
And yeah, same. And I'm pretty sure I had an apartment that big at one point.
Yeah, I think so.
But he bought that, and so especially the newer stuff he's putting out, it's got obviously you got your vocals, your drums, and your guitars and all that shit. But like, it's got fucking electronic stuff. It's got trumpets. It's got
Like just production quality just went up.
Oh my god! And the fact that he does this, he mixes and masters all his own shit while working a normal 9 to 5 and doing all this crazy. Like he used to be going to college at one point, and now he's working 9 to 5.
Balancing everything.
Yeah, it's like I've told him this privately, and he agrees. Like he's trying to figure out how to do it because he exalts the amount of production because and we talked about it on the episode we did. He's had people kind of like you said at the beginning. He's had people come in and out of the band,
Yeah.
and like things didn't work. They weren't as committed as they wanted to be because he's a fucking he is someone that I can truly say he's an artist. Like straight up, he's
He's
dedicated
into
to it.
He's balls deep into
Yeah,
it.
yeah. He will live and die with what he's doing. And he's like, he's been in a spot for a while where he's like, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to do it by myself because I know that I can. And his production value has skyrocketed because of it.
I'm at that point in my life.
But then the drawback you have is, okay, well, how do you tour that?
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, so what? You're either the one-man band with a lot of sounds behind you.
And you don't want to like electronic drum
Exactly.
sample behind you and you're just up there.
Yeah, no. And because he's about to drop an album in, I think, May, and then another one in June. I know they're very close together this year.
Okay.
And, you know, the songs he's released leading up to that, you know, I would love to see those live and see that done well by people who know what the fuck they're doing. Because it's just, the talent behind that is bananas. But to kind of circle back to what you're saying about the mics, it was funny because so Joey was my first guest, and because I remember like, okay, I want to do this to see what it's like. Okay, maybe I can find like, I want to find like 10 people who know how to do it, and I was like, okay, well, maybe Joey. So I hit up Joey, I'm like, all right, let's do it. And we shot this for the first time in the condo that I was living at, but in the fucking dining room. And it wasn't even a dining room. Like, it was a very small condo. Like, you walk up the stairs, you turn, there's a dining area.
Just a little area, yeah.
Yeah, a dining area, and then a kitchen. And so I was like, all right, I don't have a whole lot of money, but let's see how far $100 can get me with equipment. That gets you nowhere.
Yeah, no.
That gets you exactly nowhere. And so
you can end up buying 2 cables and that's it.
yeah. So I bought these fucking cameras, and the cameras came in these little white boxes that just said video camera.
Oh no.
It just said videos out of the back of some Chinese warehouse.
Video camera. Okay.
Yeah. And
It's
so
got nothing but grammatical errors throughout the manual.
so I had those, and then I put them up on these little Amazon tripods that I still have that are in the tough box. And then I set those up, and then I had these 2 terrible little mics that I bought for $15. And the most expensive piece of equipment that I had was, and I've still got it somewhere, it's a little like audio mixer. It's actually pretty decent, 2-channel audio mixer. Okay. It wasn't bad. And we did it, set it up, and I had taken the data from it. And so the fact that I was able to successfully, in decent time, drop these video files into a Google Drive should have told me one thing, right? Of how terrible quality this is. And a buddy of mine, Jay, big shout out to him because he's the one who actually made the graphic that I put up.
Okay.
That had you on it with your picture that you sent me.
Yeah.
He's the one that made that.
Oh,
awesome. So I had hit him up really early on, and he is the one that was like, yeah, I'll fucking help you produce I'll help you produce it, I'll help you master all the audio, because he makes his own music.
Okay, cool.
He does coding, he does a bunch of stuff like from the home. Oh yeah, he's a computer geek and he loves it. So I had sent him over all the stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, great, I'll look at it. 3 days later, he goes, all right, dude, this is unusable.
Yeah, we can't use this.
He goes, I spent the last 3 to 4 hours, over the last 3 days, hours I have spent trying to align 3 minutes of fucking video to audio. That is how bad this shit is. I'm not doing it. We are doing audio only. And he goes, listen, this is the equipment you need. This is what's going to work best. And
start out with all this.
Yeah, and he's like, you might as well, because the way he justified me getting these, and I had help getting these. I'm never gonna say I bought these by myself.
These are ideal.
Yeah, I had help getting these, a big help. And he goes, look, he justified it. He's like, the reason why you want to do it is because it's gonna EQ all the shit for you. It's gonna do all the power condensing for you. You're not gonna worry about like auxiliary noises.
That's what this whole ass end is for.
Yeah.
It's got all the processing.
Yep. And I was like, all right, sick. Let's go ahead and do it. And I did it. And it's just been fucking off to the races ever since. And Jay, again, he's such a great fucking guy. I hit him up yesterday at like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, hey, dude, we're doing a live stream. I finally got it together, man. We finally got it together. can you get me, because like all the thumbnails that you've seen that you've seen on the YouTube page, he made those.
Oh, okay,
Like he
cool.
created the templates, and
okay.
all I do is just drop in a picture and
New
some
picture.
fucking text, and I'm like, and I send it off.
Out.
Yes, but he's the one who's made all the templates because he's fucking so quick with it, and so he made me the templates for the live stream stuff because he's such a fucking genius. It takes him 15 minutes, and he goes and puts it out.
There you go.
So it's have you? And I was curious about this too. How much do you notice that like it really does take a true team effort or like a community to not only to make a show work well, but like to because I'd imagine there's a lot of in talking between venues where it's like, okay, like the Slums of Harvard, it's like, oh yeah, they played really good here, you should have them here.
Right.
Or the Mango Cakes, Red Light Cameras, like you should really possibly. How much of a team community effort is it to really put these people on and make them look, not even make them look good, make them sound good?
Like, because like far as Marble team, like what I work with,
Just in general, like what you've experienced being like, because you worked in a recording studio, working now at Marble, like
it's definitely you need a team. Honestly, you can't, like, even with our metal band, it's a 3-piece. It's just us 3, but we go up on stage with like a mixer board. We do in-ear click tracks so we can stay on time, and just setting that up for 3 of us is a task and a half. So I got my girlfriend and whoever friend she brings, we put them to work.
Yeah.
So, and then like as far as like shows at Marble, like I really don't handle any of like promotion or anything like that. I'm literally just show up at this time and there's a band tonight. So I like.
Well, I mean, you've got your lane, like you've got your thing you're good at, and you fucking pedal to the metal.
And the way they promote it that I've noticed is like they have like the guy that books the shows, which is Jamie. Shout out to Jamie. He books the bands for all the Marble shows, and the way he talks with the bands gets them going and stuff like that is real good because he conveys the message to them like, hey, it's Marble. Certain different like downtown Marble, you can be kind of loud, but we got the West Side location, and that's inside. And the stage is not exactly built, or where the bands play is not exactly built for bands.
Yeah,
because the floor is hollow underneath them, by like a foot.
Okay.
And so that's very boomy already. That's not ideal for a band.
So sound is just gonna like shoot through the whole place.
Oh yeah, it's just gonna rumble. And then the ceiling above them is hollow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So there's no insulation going on.
No, and then half the room is glass.
Yeah.
And then just big walls on the other end. So it's hard to do kind of sound inside that kind of venue and getting things to go together. But yeah, it's him like team wise communicating to these bands like, hey, we got this venue, you got to be a little bit more quiet, and then the promotion and all of it, and then depends on like what kind of day it is there for at the venue, because sometimes we'll have like a beer releasing that day, and so people could show up just for the beer release. So then the bands could be a little bit louder. It's more of a party situation,
right?
Over there.
Yeah.
So I don't really work with too much of a team at Marble, other than maybe 2 other people. But I understand the importance of having a team for like the band that I do. Like we need a team, a camp, or like what they call them in bands, like a camp. We need a camp.
Yeah.
And we're putting together our camp for Lithopedian. So
sick. Well, before we close out here, what stuff does Marble have coming up? What does Lithopedian have coming up? Anything you want to plug? Shout out.
Oh yeah, Marble, the first outdoor show this summer. Back to doing shows outside is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. We got I have the calendar right here. Because I was telling somebody earlier off the top of my head, and I completely gave them the wrong information. It's called the St. Patty's Bash. So the day is going to start at 5:00. They have bagpipes.
Oh shit!
So that's going to go on for like 30 minutes, and then we have a band called Velvet Rising.
Okay.
Violet Rising. Vibe Strong is a great band. They're the guitarist from Reviva.
Okay.
And then a DJ Posy Track. He plays drums, and so it's like their side project. Then you got like JD Nash and the Rasher Cash. They're kind of like a country rock kind of band. Great guys to work with. And then my boss, Jamie, his band's going to be playing headlining the night with I don't know if you know Keith Sanchez. He's kind of like a acoustic flamenco kind of guy in town.
Oh, okay, cool.
But he plays like live with his flamenco guitar, and they're called the Moon Thieves, and that'll be the bash for that.
All right, cool shit.
And then March 25th, Lithopedian's got another show at the Eclipse with like Church Crusher, Centennial.
Oh, I'm going to that because Centennial. I knew about Centennial.
How do you know Centennial?
So, I just found it on Instagram on social medias. I think.
Oh, okay.
Like social media, and then I think because I'll get random like whether it's because my location is on because of my phone or because of Spotify, just knowing where I live,
Right.
where the fuck. But I've had their stuff come up on like Discover Weekly.
Fuck yeah.
So
the vocalist in that band is like a very good buddy of mine. He used to do the vocals in this band here, which is Moral Prophecy.
okay,
Brilliant photographer in town. I don't know if you've ever seen like Esteban Robles. He's
again, sounds familiar.
He's got art all over town and stuff like that. He takes great pictures.
Okay.
That's one of the last shout outs I got for him. I go all day long with all the
you
people I
could
fucking
sit here
know,
for the
man.
next 15 just telling who's great, man.
I mean, I really want to thank Slums of Harvard for shouting me out I don't know how many times.
Yeah,
on
no,
this
they're the
podcast.
shit, dude. And like that's one of the things I love about doing this is like I'm able to meet and talk about a lot of great and talented people who live in this city of all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds. You know, it's
Right.
it's a true blessing. I gotta be honest, I didn't expect it. Frankly, I didn't expect this to go longer than 2 months. I did not think this was going to last for very long.
Right.
But the fact that we're here for 2 years later, 2.5 years later, and I'm going to talk to people like you, I get to speak to a bunch of the people that have signed the board and like all this
awesome.
stuff in the future.
I like that idea.
Like, oh yeah, it's been a true blessing. But you were saying so about Centennial.
Oh, Centennial, they're a great band. Like I said, just Esteban, he's the vocalist in that band. He's a good buddy of mine. So I was like, I got to promote my photographer buddy because he like all that picture I sent you. He took that photo.
Oh, okay, sick.
So pretty much any photo I have on social media of myself is probably from him going to the show, going to the
great.
shows and just snapping a photo.
That's great.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have anything else.
So yeah, so March 25th, you guys are playing at Eclipse. You said?
Yeah, Eclipse. Like, there's gonna be 6 bands.
Yeah, so that was a big flyer. It was a heavy flyer too.
I think it's like 2 touring band package and then 4 locals.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. All right, well we'll see what this looks like when I play it back and like audio wise, like because this was a great conversation.
I had fun.
Like, thank you
It
so
was
much
fun.
for coming by. And
I was so nervous all day long, but it was great.
well, I'm glad you had a good time. You're welcome back anytime, seriously. And
I'd love to come back.
I will play this back, and hopefully the audio sounds good because I fucking busted my ass putting this shit together. But
It's that HDMI cable, I tell you.
but this is seriously a pleasure, and I'm very glad that we got to do this. So thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for you guys that tuned in to the live stream, the first professional live stream, because we've done 2 in the past. One was with the We Are the Empty. I was happy about that one, but the first one we did was terrible. Because before we clock out of here, I had the bright idea, and I think it was a good idea, and I think I'll do it again next year for the 2024 election. But I had the bright idea of doing a live stream for the podcast for the 2020 election. So me and a bunch of my idiot friends, Joey included,
As the results come in.
yeah. So we were we're all in the garage, and we had these 2 tables, and we set them up in like an L, right? So we had the computer out here, and then I had the little mixer I was talking about, and I had the one fucking mic, and we passed around the mic. And the only camera we used was the integrated webcam. It looked like shit, sounded like shit. It was horrible, and I was fucking
Crackling every time you move it around.
Yep, and I was stressed out the whole fucking time. I was like, oh my God, because like people actually watched, and I was like, what are you people doing here? Like, this is not what you need to fucking watch right now. So I might do it again next year, provided I'm either here or in Austin or wherever the fuck I'm at. But I'm glad we got this live stream going. I'm glad you came by.
It was so fun. Thank you so much, guys.
It was a fucking blessing. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you.